People of YouTube, what's good? So last week we went through how to create some very basic FM synth patches to use in your Psytrance tracks. And today what we're going to be doing is we're going to take those patches and create a more lead or sort of more melodic orientated sound. And I'm going to show you guys how I go about it. If you guys want all the sounds that I create in my tutorials, click here, go to my Patreon, support me, and then you'll get access to all the sounds that I create. If you haven't been following along and you want to check out how to create the 2 FM sounds that I'm talking about, click here and go to last week's episode. And if you haven't watched my music theory hack video, I'm going to be using that technique in this video, so I highly suggest you click over here and check that one out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by opening up the sound that I made, the second sound that I made in last week's episode. And first things first, what I want to do is I want to disable the filter, just so that I'm listening to only the sounds that the oscillators are creating, the basic generator sounds. So anything in the effects and everything like that is free to be modulated as I want to create the sort of movement in the sound and stuff like that. But for now, I just want to hear what the oscillators themselves sound like. So what I want to do is I want to change this waveform to, under the digital drop down menu over here, this FFT add seconds. And that basically adds a little bit of grit, which you can modulate in the sound. It's almost like a much more grinding, dirtier version of the sine wave which we were using in the previous example. And what I also like to do is this warp function over here. I'll set this to bend plus, and that creates even more kind of grindy goodness. Cool, that's sounding pretty good. So if I, for example, play a melody on my keyboard or play a couple of notes on my keyboard, you can start to hear it's sounding a little bit more like a lead pattern. So let's just play around a little. So like I was explaining, I'm going to be using the technique that I use in my music theory hack video, so I highly suggest checking that out. On the MIDI channel, under the MIDI modifiers section over here, let's set the transpose to +3 to fit the track that we're working in at the moment. Cool, that's starting to take shape. So now what I like to do, just to add a little bit of character to the sound or movement to the sound, is I'll disable the pitch bend controls over here, the bottom, so that they're no longer changing the pitch of the sound. I'll set them both to 0. And then I'll click on the matrix, drop down this menu over here, click on pitch bend, and then we'll set it to control the oscillator B semitones. Move it all the way up, and then click on this type over here so that it's bipolar, I think is the word. So now what happens is we can play a note and pitch bend, and it's not going to change the pitch of the sound. What it's going to do is it's going to change the frequency of oscillator B, which is our modulator source. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. That's sounding really cool, and that is a very common sound used in Psytrance nowadays. The next thing to do would be to record in a MIDI pattern. So let's record in something quickly. I'm going to mute these synth patterns that we did before, just so that they don't clash with the sound that we're creating at the moment. Cool, now let's just find the best part and we can loop that a couple of times. So it's important with this kind of sound to set it to monophonic, just because there's so much grit. When you have notes layered over each other, it can tend to get quite messy. So I'll always set it to mono over here, just so that there's one voice playing at a time, just to keep everything slightly cleaner. Now what I'll do is I'll add a filter, but I'm not going to be using the filter like I was using in the previous example. In this example, we're going to use it more as sort of a build-up or movement in the overall sound to the break or the build-up or something like that. So what we want to do is we want to remove all destinations from envelope 2, just so that's no longer controlling the filter. And then what we want to do is we want to let it play through, and I'm just going to modulate it very slowly upwards. Wow, that is kiff. I actually really like that sound, and I also use it quite a lot. You'll probably have heard that in my tracks quite a bit. Let me know if that helped you out. Let me know in the comments if there is a synth that you would like to know how to make. Let me know which track you've heard it in before. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you want the sounds that I've created in this video, click over here, go to my Patreon. See you guys next time. Thanks so much.